Good morning, everyone. Today the church has us reflect on that very familiar story of these disciples on the road to Emmaus. Maybe one of the more iconic, one of the more famous post-resurrection stories, especially for us Catholics, as it obviously shows how important the Eucharist is to the Holy Church when Jesus is recognized in this breaking of the bread. But one of the things that always grabs my attention is that in the very beginning, we hear that these disciples are walking away from Jerusalem. They're walking away from the heart of the action. Now, quite clearly, they're feeling a little defeated. The crucifixion and the death of Jesus was a real shot to their hope, right? A real shot to their morale. You get the sense that when you first meet these guys, they're in the midst of this existential crisis. They're trying to sort their life out. Now, so deep is their despair that they remain blind to these amazing things that are going on around them. Primarily, the good news that death did not have the last say, that Jesus wasn't just some prophet who ran afoul and challenged the authorities and ended up losing. That in fact, he is who they thought he was, that he is the only Son of God, that he is their Messiah. Now, for whatever reason, the testimony of the holy women, the vision of angels, even an empty tomb wasn't enough to penetrate their thick heads. Now, even after they recount all of these great things that have been going on to this stranger they meet on the road, they still don't get it. Now, it's almost like a comedy of sorts as they recount this whole story back to Jesus, and yet they still walk towards Emmaus. And you kind of think like, how are these guys not getting it? See, but here's the real heart of the story, and something that we should all spend some time reflecting on. Because even though these guys are a little hard-headed, a little slow to pick up on all the great things that are going on, Christ doesn't give up on them. Rather, he speaks to them in a way that they would understand. As Luke tells us, he begins to appeal to the scriptures. Now, this is something that these disciples would have been very familiar with. They would have heard these stories and heard these good tales growing up their entire life. And he uses these scriptures to open their eyes to this reality that was always before them, but which they could not see. See, this is the great beauty. This is the great mercy that we find in Jesus. He's so patient. He's so kind. He's willing to stoop down to their level, if you will, to speak to them in a way that they would understand. But you see, that same Jesus, he still lives, he still works in our world today. As a priest, I get to hear all kinds of different stories. But the stories that I'm always blown away with are those conversion stories that people tell me. Because though no two stories are the same, there's usually this familiar theme in which God is somehow working in their life, how he opens their eyes to a reality that was before them. But the funny thing is that usually the way this eye-opening experience happens, it's always in this kind of normal, very ordinary kind of way. Whether it's with a friend or on vacation with your family. Sometimes it happens on a school field trip or just in the quiet time of working in the garden or taking a walk. And all these normal ways, all these familiar things in which Jesus sparks this great conversion. You see, that's Christ up to his old tricks again. He opens our eyes. He stoops down to our level. He speaks to us in a way that we would understand so that we can come to see him for what he is. Just like he did with those disciples so many centuries ago on the road to Emmaus. Therefore, brothers and sisters, we should never fail to be on the lookout. If over these past couple months you've become down or saddened by the crosses and the deaths that have come your way, well then be alert. For Jesus Christ is on that road, and he's looking to meet you. Now, this Sunday, and maybe throughout this week, I would urge you to read, or perhaps reread, our gospel passage. And then set apart some time to stay with Jesus, so that he can speak to you in a way that you would understand, so that he can open your eyes and show to you exactly who he is. And so I hope that you do have a good week, and I ask you to continue to keep me in your prayers, and know that you are also in my prayers as well. And may God bless you.